All right. Welcome everyone, wherever you're joining us. Today we will be talking about go-to-market strategies in product management. We have a wonderful panel of experts. The format of this webinar is going to be a little different. What we want to bring their experiences to bear in helping you all make better decisions in product management. And so this format will be a panel Ask Me Anything format. So your engagement it's required. That way you can get your questions answered. First, we're going to just do a quick round of introductions so you get to know our panel of experts. We'll go over some housekeeping items, and then we're going to get started. My name is Rena Lexon. I'll be the moderator and host today. I'm the CEO of Productside. Why don't we introduce our experts in alphabetical order? Elena, Jana, and then Ken, you can go last. So Elena, do you want to give a quick intro about you, your experience in product management, and maybe a little bit about Amaze where you work?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rina, and hi, everyone. So my name is Elena Madrigal, and I currently the EVP of Product and Product Marketing. That was kind of a mouthful, so it's shortened here. So basically what I lead is a group organization of product managers, UX designers, and product marketing. It's the very first time that I'm leading that combined organization, which is super exciting. And I do this at Amaze. Amaze is an e-commerce platform aimed at creators so we can help them monetize their audience with e-commerce in social commerce. So basically the idea is that in a normal environment, entrepreneurs, they have a product, they need an audience. In our case, the people that we work with, they have an audience, they don't have a product, and we provide that product. So super excited to be here. Yeah, over to Jana.
Thanks. Hi, folks. I'm Jana Basto. You might know me as one of the co-founders of Mind the Product, which is the big community of product people and a series of events and training and all sorts of stuff. So I've definitely had my share of great product conversations with people across all different industries and verticals and all sorts. And you also might know me as one of the co-founders of ProdPad. It's the product management software. It's a tool that allows you to manage your roadmap and manage all those ideas that you've got flying at you and figure out which of these things actually need to go to market and even manage stuff after that as well. So I work with a lot of different companies about how they manage that process and happy to speak about that.
Thank you, Jana. I'll just, before Ken, I will also say that I hope most of the audience here also recognizes that you have authored the Now, Next, Later roadmap. So that's just a huge contribution.
Yeah. The Now, Next, Later framework for road mapping was something that myself and my co-founder came up with. So happy to chat about that as well.
Yeah. All right, Ken.
Fantastic. Hi, everyone. My name is Ken Feehan. I'm the VP of Product at Productside. Just a quick introduction. Last Tuesday, Productside was formed. It's transformation of the 280 group. Some of you may have heard before. You may be looking for the 280 group here. Basically, we have rebranded, and we're telling a story about the things we can do for customers. And the name of the company now is Productside. My background is I've been a product manager as an individual contributor, as a director, and as a leader. Learned product management at Apple in the 90s, learned Agile at Intuit, a pretty good company to learn Agile at. And I've brought about 20 products to market in small companies and large companies and worked at a ton of startups. And I'm very happy here to talk about go-to-market.
Yeah. And can I just say, I love the new brand and congrats on a big relaunch last week.
I love it too. Yes.
Thank you. I know we finally have a name, and guys, we love 280 Group. 280 Group meant so much to us. We called it the spine of innovation, bringing Silicon Valley best practices to the world. But now, as Productside, we really have a name about what we do, which is we stand by the side of product managers and product leaders on their journey to doing product management better. Our goal is to help product managers to do their best job in making products that people want to buy and use. And people work with us because as Productside, our philosophy is in our approach. We are with product leaders. We believe in the outcomes of our engagements. And that is why we have a holistic solution for product management team transformation that we tailor to your context. And we, again, really care about the results. That's a little bit about who we are. And yes, yesterday I had, okay, so as a, I guess, former New Yorker, weird to admit that, I had the chance to go to Times Square and see our billboard up as Productside. And it was such a magical
Very
moment for
cool.
me. Yeah,
Super cool. I always
That's a
wanted
great
that.
moment. Did you get pictures?
I did. I will be posting them. I have a minute. But gosh, it's been such a journey. So many people were involved in the company, and thank you so much for shouting us out. We love 280 Group, but we love Productside. All right, so I mentioned at the beginning, for those of you who have joined us, this is a little bit of a different format. So we are here for you. We always are here for you, but today, more importantly, we are here to answer your questions. So please, throughout this presentation, short presentation, start to think about what problems are you experiencing in launching products, in go-to-market, in enabling your go-to-market teams. We want to answer your questions, and you can ask them by clicking the Q&A button. You can chat your questions over. And if you're feeling adventurous, I welcome you to raise your hand, and I'll actually bring you up on the stage live to ask your question. So please do so.
Be brave.
This is also going to be recorded. So if you are interested in, if you can't stay for all of it, or if you've signed up, you will also get a recording of this webcast after it is over. I also welcome you now to join our LinkedIn community. It is another great safe space for you to ask questions of your peers and connect and network. We will share a link to join our community in the chat. Okay, so now I'm going to get started. That was all the housekeeping items. Okay, so on LinkedIn, we asked the LinkedIn audience what their biggest challenge with go-to-market is. I'm going to show the 4 options, and what I'm going to do right now, get your answers ready. I'm going to ask each of our panelists which one they would choose and why. So the question is, what's your biggest struggle when going to market? Elena, you want to go first?
Yes, absolutely. Oof, all of this, definitely all of it. But there's something that stays at the, I would say at the foundation of everything, which is the positioning. So you might end up with crack the nut of the messaging, but if it's not the right positioning, it doesn't matter the rest. You may have the good positioning, then you are rushing. It's okay because you already have the basement of everything. I think you can go without, I mean, you can battle rush launch, lack of alignment, and establishing success metrics kind of in a way if you have a really good positioning. If you are missing on the positioning, all this doesn't matter.
Yeah,
So
very
you
good
pick
answer.
one.
Yeah. Such a good answer. I mean, you've got to make sure that everyone understands what it is that you are putting out there. And that sort of speaks to, establishing that messaging, but also that lack of alignment that I see in teams all the time where, you'll have, it's like a game of operator where some customers will ask for the thing. And so it'll go through product and design and development and it'll get launched. And by the time it's actually communicated through to marketing and sales as to what it is you actually launched, it's different. It's being communicated differently because, either you didn't quite connect what the customers were asking for and their feedback to how it is you were going to launch this thing. And what ends up happening is you just end up with a different message and sometimes even a slightly different product than what the customers asked for because things are getting passed in almost a linear format as opposed to being worked on more collaboratively.
So your choice, I think, is more number three.
Lack of alignment. And the other one that I see is around the rushed launch, right? And what's happening here is marketing is feeling like they need to get the word out about something that is about to be launched by development. But the thing is, when you're trying to stack up two different projects like that, right? There's a project in making the thing, and then there's a project in launching the thing. And if you try to line up the end dates of those projects so they both land on the same day, you're just running into problems, right? And so teams can avoid this by separating their soft launch from their hard launch, right? So if you
Yep.
need 6 weeks or 6 months or 6 days or whatever it is for your team to do the proper launch that you need, we'll start that not when they start building it, because you don't know when they're going to finish building it. Start it when you know that they've got something out to soft launch, and that can be then ready to work from there. You don't have to worry about rushing things out.
I 100% align with that. There's also this fundamental misalignment. Marketing understands release is the same thing as a launch. And I think some product teams think about the same thing. So release equals to launch. So everyone starts to panic because we are releasing next week. Oh my God, we need to shout out. I would also, as you were saying, Jenna, invite marketing to understand, okay, this is a problem that we are solving and we are building this solution. Doesn't need to go into all the nitty-gritty details of absolutely everything, but at least a heads up to marketing into, okay, this is the space that we want to own, and this is the story that we want to communicate. So marketing can start thinking about the tactical execution of it. And someone needs to come up with that strategy. So go-to-market strategy is different than go-to-market planning, which I would say the go-to-market planning is more the tactical. Okay, we are going to, I don't know, put all these ads out there or this type of content or whatnot. And that takes a lot of time. So that space between that release and the launch is important. Also, the soft launch, super important to start testing messages and to start testing the product. Are we delivering the value that we promised? Yes, fantastic. Oh, do we need to tweak something on the message because people are not understanding this? Then that is what goes into the launch.
Yeah, it's such a good point. Making sure that you got a clear understanding as to what your release is and, what your actual go-to-market is. I think people need to be given this permission, because a lot of people don't realize they can do this, which is you can release something and not market it right away. Your team can start marketing it later. You can market something that released 6 months ago. Your customers don't care. Your market doesn't care if you are shouting about something as if it's brand new, but you actually put it out there 6 months ago. That's fine. There can be a lag if it means that you actually get alignment on what it is you're supposed to be saying about it. You tweak the positioning. You're able to test it with real users and get testimonials on it and build up the video stuff that you need to make it really shine. That takes time. We get that. But don't feel like you have to launch it at the same time that you release it, because you just end up with something that's underwhelming and doesn't really help the feature shine.
No, let me build on that. Even so, you could combine multiple releases in one single launch that is talking about an amazing outcome for the customer.
Yeah.
And that is way, way more powerful than by the way, we just got this out.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did when we launched our AI stuff. So we actually got access to the API, the GPT API, and started building in bits and pieces and just seeing how people reacted to it. And some stuff we built in and kept it in because it was really powerful. Some stuff we tried and it wasn't quite right. But we basically gathered up a bunch of them and just released it as ProdPad AI on Product Hunt and a bunch of other places to really make it shine. And it was like this more cohesive thing as opposed to, oh, a single button that does a thing, right? We wanted to create something that actually had a little bit more bang to it.
Yeah, and I would contribute. I want to talk about a little bit more about the rush launch and follow up on something that Jana said. As a product manager with my go-to-marketplace, one of the bits of advice that I would give is that the product introduction on Tuesday at 10 o'clock is the beginning of the second chapter of the book. You might have briefed the sales team, you might have briefed the marketing team on what the messages are and what the go-to-market and shared the one-pagers, but you're going to have to do that again after the launch. You're going to have to work to make a success story a week after the launch, because before the launch, the sales team and the marketing team is busy and they hear you and they digest things. But on the other side of the launch, when they're actually engaging with a customer, when they're actually working to make a pitch and to close a statement of work with a customer, they're going to need you as the product manager. And that's when the investment that you're making in them in establishing the messaging and establishing the benefits, that's when they're really going to hear you. So please keep in mind that, yes, you've got to launch this on Tuesday, but that's not the end of it for the product manager. After that, you're going to have people come up to you and they're going to ask you basic questions. What's the positioning? What's the presentation? And you're going to want to say, I briefed you on that last Tuesday. But that is your opportunity as a product manager to say, hey, yeah, that's fantastic. Let's meet and talk about that. That's when you're actually going to be effective, is when you actually have the salesperson saying, help me present this, help me talk to a customer about this. The trainings that happen beforehand, they're okay, but when you are one-on-one afterwards with salespeople and marketing, and suddenly it's their criteria trying to figure out, okay, I want to spend this time and I want to get something done. That's when you're going to be ineffective, and that's when you're going to make advocates for your product. It happens usually the day after.
And this actually harks back to, one of the core parts of being a product manager. They say you need to over communicate. Well, what does that mean? You need to communicate the same thing over and over again in various different ways to make sure that message is across. Half of that over communication is to your sales and marketing team to make sure that they understand what's coming up the pipeline. They understand what has just been launched, what has just been rolled back, what has just, passed a certain threshold of usage, right? You need to make sure that they're on board with stuff and communicate it multiple times so they see it coming down the pipeline. And if something's out there and isn't getting the usage, communicate that to make sure that they can help boost it.
Yeah, a tip that I have on that area is to think of our internal stakeholders in the same way that we are thinking about personas for our products. So the message that you are going to be communicating to sales might be different than what you are going to tell to marketing, because they care about different things. So by tailoring this internal communication, you can also make that communication even better.
So I do want to share just really quick, and then we'll bring Christian has his hand raised. But I do want to share the results of this poll. And it's very interesting listening to all of you talk about this, because what we found is most people thought it was a rush launch.
Yep.
However, I think the panel hit the nail on the head here. That's the outcome that you experience when you don't have everything else quite buttoned up. So it is, but that is where I think a lot of people feel the pain of the lack of the rest of the work. And we all also know the magic of a deadline. Somehow, no matter when you send it, there is a flurry of work that happens right before it, no matter how prepared you are. But I loved hearing everybody's experiences. Okay, so Christian lowered his hand. So instead, I'm going to ask the next question, which is, we talked a lot right now about challenges. Can you recall, and I'm going to start with Jana here, recall your favorite launch, something that was great. What made it great?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak about that AI launch that we did last year. One of the things that really helped was that we, first of all, gathered up a bunch of convincing things and really crafted our message around it. Really wanted to get it right, because we're going to be putting it on Product Hunt and shouting about it from all of the team members, and wanted to stand out amongst all the other AI tools that were out there. We knew we had something special, but had to communicate that. So we put a lot of effort into that. We knew up front what we were going to measure, right? So we were able to say, people have been using this beforehand. How have people been using it after? We were able to see the spike in not just immediate usage and signups and whatnot, but also a longer tail of ongoing usage where people became regular users of the stuff that they hadn't heard about, even though some of it had actually been lurking in the product under beta flag and in other places for a couple months by then.
Okay. Elena, what was your favorite launch and why?
I really like when I was working at TrueMotion. TrueMotion was a company that used AI and machine learning to predict good drivers. Very interesting company. And they were using this information to help insurance companies determine what is the premium, rather than determining that by your credit score or if you're a woman or a man.
Mhm.
This was a piece of software that lives in your phone, that could detect this. It could also detect, I mean, if you were driving over the speed limit or distracted or whatnot. But there was a thing on that product that also detected if you got in an accident and you lost consciousness, so they can send you an ambulance, they can send you police, they can save your life. So that was pretty exciting. So we took that, and at a certain point at that company, we reached the ceiling, which is very exciting because we were working with these super big enterprises, but how many top insurers are there, insurance companies? And we were just like having half of the market in sharing with another company that ended up buying us. But we wanted to go down market. We wanted to make this repeatable and plug and play for small, medium businesses and adjacent markets. What we found was like, how can we package this ability of detecting someone getting in an accident and who will care about this? And we launched that for home security companies. We did a lot of research into what were they struggling with. And we did an internal research where we reach out to consumers and ask them, hey, would you pay if your not home insurance, sorry, if your home security company could offer this outside the home? We found that more than 60% said yes. So we built a whole launch campaign and a whole go-to-market based on those insights. It's very difficult for us to explain machine learning and all these complex tech for these type of companies that they didn't have any need for us. So the whole go-to-market strategy here was not to capture intent, but to generate intent. So the strategy changes completely. It worked, actually. It was one of the most exciting go-to-markets and launches that I have worked, because it was rooted on insights that we discovered, and we actually presented the problem to them rather than, hey, I'm having a problem, I'm looking for a solution.
Yeah. So Jana, just now I think you kind of touched it similarly, the importance of the data as well as the discovery process. Can you bring, how did you essentially conduct the experimentation to have the learning to know that this is going to be effective for you?
Yeah, so I mean, I see this entire process from conception through to go to market as a tied-in process itself. It's all part of the same thing, right? And so, when we start building something, it's not just done because we think it's a cool idea, but because we're seeing something in the market that we think, actually, if we had this, if we were able to talk about the product this way, that would solve this problem and therefore result in these sorts of numbers. This needle would move. And so we were able to, from the very beginning of building stuff, sort of go, hey, what could we change that would allow us to do that? And, the new tech that we were using in this case was AI. It opened up a lot of really interesting avenues. But ultimately, we're tying it back to the core needs that our customers have, right? Around removing the grunt work around your work, right? How many hours people spend, sifting through their feedback and trying to find insights, or how much time they spend writing user stories, stuff that they don't like doing. But we were able to tie that back and say, okay, well, here's things that we could start experimenting around. And there's a lot left on the cutting floor, right? There were a lot of different things that we tried that we thought that might solve the problem, but we would test it out, right? We'd do discovery around it. Some of these tests would just be, trying it with our own data and seeing if it actually is possible. We would just do something like a couple hours into something and see if it could be done. But then we would test it with different users. We have a group of beta users. We're really lucky because our customers are product people, and product people love to test stuff, right? So, getting the stuff in front of people, great with feedback, right? Love getting feedback from product people. It's always so either perfectly concise or just a whole page to work at, and you go, okay, this is actually really useful, and let's just send this to dev. And so we were able to test it with people, see what they thought. They would give us feedback on what was working, what wasn't working, and from there we would only then start putting it into the product available to everybody else.
Yeah, Ken, what do you think? What is a story that you can share about a great product launch?
Yeah, so the story that I would share here, it was a B2B example. I had run, I was a product manager in this situation, and we were working up towards the introduction. We were doing a beta of this particular product with 4 customers during that particular time. And we were getting good feedback on this. And the thing that we did on this particular launch that was more effective than a lot of others is we made sure that all of the feedback that was coming in through the beta program went through the salesperson that was the most personable, most interesting, most talkative salesperson on our particular company. We chose beta customers. We chose one of them as a person that was going to potentially be in her influence. And what we did is we made sure that when the feedback came back, hey, I really like this, or I fixed this, or how do you use this, or at the end, the summary of how the beta worked for them, that they got tons of information, that one salesperson got that information. They were there for the post-brief debrief, for the post-beta debrief, and they heard the customer say, we were responsive, this product solved my problems, I thought there was some innovation here. And that one salesperson, who a lot of other salespeople looked to see what was going on here, got turned into an advocate for the product, so that other salespeople would look at this and say, hey, do you know that new product? Who knows about it? And then suddenly the personable person, the person that they were really looking for, can come back and say, let me share some experiences with you because I've seen that product in action. If you get that kind of inside the sales team or inside the marketing team voice going about personal experiences with this, then suddenly you build up some momentum on the situations, because I'm empathetic with salespeople. Salespeople have a hard job. They have a reputation. They have a relationship with target customers. Maybe they have, $1 million a year of business going through Acme. And the last thing that salesperson wants to do is to propose a new product with a bad reputation that doesn't deliver and threaten that particular relationship. So if I understand the motivation of the salesperson as a product manager, and I work to address that situation by giving them a success story, by pulling a customer in that potentially they can influence, then I can potentially take a cautious sales team who is going to sell what they're familiar with, not my new product, and turn them into a situations where they say, hey, Joe did it. And if Joe did it, then I can do it too. So my biggest success story was involving the sales team and saying, I want to pick the biggest guy on the biggest person in sales, and I want to make them an advocate for my product. And it made a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this speaks to why it's important to bring sales and marketing in really early, because they can help inform you on what's going to be the biggest uplift, right? If you start putting things out in your roadmap, and there are things that the salesperson is ambivalent about, they think the customers are going to be ambivalent about it, it's probably going to flop because they don't think they can sell it. So either you need to get them on board and help them understand, what it is, what problem you're trying to solve, but they should probably already know that. They are closest to the customers. They know what problems need to be solved. And so use their insight to help figure out where things are going to make a difference or not. And, sense check that what you're building is actually sellable. Ask them how they would pitch it. And if they can't come up with something, it's not going to sell.
So we've been talking, I've heard it a number of times, the magic of a soft launch. However, as we probably know, with a soft launch, not everything is quite ready yet. So how do you, and this is a real question, how do you bring people along and make sure that they don't lose trust when it's not fully ready yet? Who wants to take this one? Elena, I saw you nodding.
I tend to be very open that this is a soft launch, that this is a beta. Hey, we are inviting people to try our beta. We want to, people feel like they are part of something special. They are more forgiving. If something doesn't work, that is okay. So when it's a risky launch, I tend to invite, pick and choose the people that are going to be testing that are going to be, as I said, forgiving the mistakes, but are going to give honest feedback on it. This usually works when, so this backs again to this rush that we were talking about. Sometimes product managers are rushing. Everyone is rushing because the executive team is rushing. They are like, guys, we need to launch this immediately. And how can you say no to the CEO? So then you're rushing. So a way of getting things out there that are a little bit half-baked, so then you can tell the CEO, hey, we just soft launched this, but at the same time learn is by closing who can access that. Internal customers, that you trust them, and they are very well informed that, hey, things might flop, but I want your feedback. How are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, with us, we're a big fan of feature flagging, and this actually allows us to have multiple stages in which something can actually get ready to go to the full production version of ProdPad. So, for example, we have an internal staging thing where we just use it with live data or live looking data, but internally only. We have a version of launch that only goes to our internal accounts. So we try it as a team first and see how it works, see if there's anything that crops up for a couple of weeks. And then we have versions that allow us to put it out to specific users, or we have a beta group, so you can flick beta on or off within the app. And then we have versions where we just say, well, it's beta, but it's for everybody.
Exactly.
And it goes wider. And then we put it out for everybody once we know that it's working. But generally, it only moves from one stage to the next once it actually passes some level of user testing and acceptability and that sort of thing. We check how well people can solve certain problems. So if we said this is to help them, move through their backlog faster, great. Well, how quickly can they do this task now versus how that quickly they could do it before? And let's have them go through. It's like a red, orange, green sort of system that allows us to give a passing score to everything we put out there.
And what is great about that is that you can collect claims early on. So you can analyze and use that in marketing later on. Like 10 out of 10 people or 90% of the people are seeing an increase or a decrease on their their time using this by X. So you can use that research and even verbatim from the people that are testing this, like, oh my gosh, it was impossible to do this now. Now I'm able to do A, B, and C. Those things, pass it to marketing. They will use it very gladly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to call out one of the comments that we've got here from Jerry, who was talking about in the video game industry. Has anybody here ever bought an early access game? It's sort of the what space. Yeah, exactly. It's sort of a way that you can gain access to the product, get to see it first, get to play it first, which gives you some pretty cool credits. So it's fun. But at the same time, the company can continue to polish and get the game out there.
Yeah, thanks for responding to that, Jana. I again welcome anybody in the audience. If you want to raise your hand, I'll bring you up to ask a question live. Ken, I want to ask you this question because I know this is something that we've worked through a lot. Jana mentioned it earlier around the importance of bringing sales and marketing for the journey earlier. How do you bring people along without having the product manager now be responsible for essentially doing everybody else's work?
I don't know the answer to that, Rita, but let's go ahead and talk about it. It is close to home. When a new product comes out and the salesperson is ready to receive the messaging, they want everything. They want the data sheet, they want the battle card, they want the sales presentation. They want everything, and sometimes that comes from different organizations than just the product manager. And what we have to do at that particular point is not point fingers, is not say, I'll get it to you next week, or why don't you go talk to Betty about that? It's to realize that the salesperson is ready at that particular moment to try to help advance your particular product. And you have to engage and take advantage of that situation. And you have to say, okay, let's go together over to the marketing team and figure out if the latest version of the presentation is ready, or let's get you an FAQ right now to be able to do this. Those moments in time where someone says, they don't say it out loud, but they're ready, is a moment that you just have to embrace. And you won't have all the answers, and it's going to come on and you're going to feel like a wave is crushing over you as a product manager because suddenly they want everything. But just realize that that is a moment of influence that you have with that person. You will either become a hero to that salesperson or you will become dead to that person. And what I encourage product managers to do is to recognize at that moment, you know, you'd spent 10 hours of training before this and you got nothing out of it. But at that moment, that product manager is going to make a decision about whether or not they're on the product team or whether they're not. And so you just have to take advantage of it. You have to, there's, I don't know, I used a phrase last week. I made Rena laugh during the product introduction. I instructed everybody on the product team at the 280 group, no matter what question you got asked, answer the question, just be present. And the phrase that we used was be a goldfish, which is a reference to Ted Lasso. You know, don't say, I told you this last week, or I sent it over in an email. None of that stuff. We're on one team, we're communicating. And if somebody's good enough to ask you the right question right now about the product, thank them and get the answer to them. Act like a goldfish. There's no remorse. There's no frustration. Just take advantage of that moment. They're coming to you looking for help. Take advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is actually one of the reasons why I started building ProdPad in the first place. Like that weight that you feel as a product manager when everyone's looking to you to have the answers about what you're building, what was built, why you're building it, where things are, where their idea is, right? And so, you know, good product management shouldn't just be owned by the product manager. It should be something that the entire team gets involved with, right? And so everyone should be able to pitch in ideas. Everyone should be able to share what they've heard from the market, from the customers. And everyone should be able to see what's coming up the pipeline and about to be launched. It should all be in one place so that if people do have questions, they can go to that one place and they can figure out, you know, where things are or what's going on or what's been launched and what the success is of those things, and help answer some of the questions like, hey, you know, you say that you want this thing to be done. Well, help me answer the questions about what the success metrics are, what problem it's going to solve, and why you think it's going to do that. What are our target outcomes? So it sort of takes the pressure off the product manager from having all those answers, and also makes it so that everyone else can see what the answers are to those things and why they're building anything, why anything was done.
I love that. Yeah.
Hey, some questions are coming in, Rena.
Yeah, actually, I want to point this one to Elena. So let's answer Taruta's question first, and I hope I'm saying your name right. But what specific deliverables do you think are going to be most helpful for sales and marketing that product marketing should create?
Well, one of the key things, and it's not that, I haven't seen a lot of product teams that put this together. The beauty of a one-pager that just says, why are we doing this, for whom, and what are the outcomes? And then just break it down by features and benefits, something very simple. That is amazing. I learned this when I was working at Microsoft and at Nokia. They do that for every single product. There's the one-pager. Okay, fantastic. You move to smaller startups, they have no clue what a one-pager is. And most of the time I end up doing that as a product marketeer. Like, okay, I'm going to ask the right questions to the product team. And sometimes it was like pulling teeth because I don't know. Okay, see, hold on. If you don't know why are we doing this, why are we doing it in the first place? So it was sometimes asking the right questions that were very uncomfortable for some of the product teams. But I think that getting that one-pager doesn't need to be pretty or with pretty language or whatnot. Marketing will take care of that. Doesn't need to be copied. It's just that information.
Yeah, I love that that focus on the one pager, and that constraint is actually really important. Is anybody here familiar with Matt LeMay's 1 page, 1 hour rule or framework or whatever we're going to call it? It's basically the idea that before you get stuck into creating some big long document or some big presentation that you're going to take and show people saying this is what we're doing and why, actually just work for 1 hour on it or 1 page, whichever one comes first, and then stop and show it to people, right? You can save so much time because people tend to get really lost in, you know, crafting the perfect version of what they're trying to do. And in fact, you can just say, blah, this is what we're trying to do. I'm just getting it out of my head, and then go share it with people because it's going to become better if you do share it faster.
I agree. Also that situation of putting pen to paper. It can be typing, but just putting your thoughts in a document. Sometimes you realize that actually I'm not super sure about this. Let me
Yeah.
go and find out more information.
Seems like a good idea until you actually try to articulate it. You know, I think this is why Amazon did that. I'm not sure if they still do this, but the one where you write the press release before you
Yes.
start building it.
The
Because if you
PRFAQ.
can't come up with a convincing way to get this out to press, then is it actually worth building?
I do
Working
those
backwards.
all the PRFAQ, and the power part of that is it's not the flourish language. We just released this and that. It's the FAQs that come after.
Yeah.
You
It
are
forces
trying to think, what are the things that people are going to ask me? Okay, so how does it work? What do I need to do? What are my requirements to do
Yeah.
that? The FAQs, super powerful.
Yeah, it forces you to think about the so what, right? Like,
There you go.
what is this thing? Why do we care? If you can't do that, then, maybe don't embark on a, 6-week build for something.
Yeah, my worst go-to market and my worst launches were missing that. We're missing
Yep.
but why are we doing this? What's in need for the customer? And many times it was like, no, we want to do this because it's a huge innovation and we want to be portrayed as still an innovation company. But then it's
Internal messages.
yeah,
Yeah.
innovation for the sake of innovation. More folks are going to use it and say, oh, this is cool. It's never going to go through, mainstream.
All right, so I love this conversation. It speaks to my heart. I don't know how many times I've heard of the magical one pager, but they really are magical. So when we're thinking about launching products that are for enterprise, I'm going to move to Hussein's question. Is there a change in the go-to-market strategy, or is it just a change in terms of how you develop products? Ooh. Am I stumping you?
Well, I think it's both. When I think about enterprise deals, I think about large deals. I think about situations where a company will probably have a purchase agreement or some type of arrangements, which probably is $500,000 or up. So the ability to satisfy that user's curiosity about what this product can do for them is very high on enterprise deals. It's higher on that than on buying a new phone or subscribing to a new product. So it's on the B2B side. The initial purchase is probably pretty steep. You're dealing with the buyer persona, someone who's got budget, who's trying to make this particular situation work. They need information to convince themselves that this is an interesting purchase. But if it's $250,000, if it's $500,000, they need to be able to tell a story to the other executives, to the other leaders on their particular company about how this will be a good investment for them. So as a product manager, I can't spend 98% of my time making sure the product is right. I need to spend a lot of my time making sure that the value proposition for someone to drop $500,000 on us is correct. And product managers aren't always as focused upon that. You need the proof points, you need the transformation, you need the measurements, you need the success stories. If you're going to launch a product that sells for $500,000 a piece into the telephone industry, you better have had a telecom success story in order to potentially be able to do this. So to come back, and I'll let go of the mic here, but you just have to realize these are big, important decisions. You want to turn the person who's buying into an advocate and give them answers to problems. And as a product manager, if you're spending all of your time with the developer and not with your beta customers and not with the marketing people and not measuring success, then your product is going to have a long ramp.
Yeah. And I'm going to change my, just to kind of clarify, I think, Ken, you understood where I was going. I think with enterprise, yes, they will require more features, but it's really the buying process is often where the difference is with go-to-market and making sure that you're understanding the buyer persona while also still building for the end user. And I think that is the perennial problem in B2B. Jen, I want to bring you in. I don't know if you want to comment on this or on what.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it just comes down to risk management, right? It's more risky to build in the enterprise space, right? Because usually it's bigger builds that take longer, but also the sales cycle takes longer. So it takes a while to actually prove whether this is going to work or not. Unless you're building to a contract and you've already got that agreement as to what they're going to pay, oftentimes you are separating the discovery process from the actual realization of revenue by months, sometimes years, based on how big you're actually building. And so in order to stomach doing this, you just need to do more in the way of risk management. And that does look like spending time with the clients and making sure that you are doing the discovery and understand what they're actually doing, understanding, how they're going to buy and getting people, preloaded, ready to buy this thing, as opposed to putting it out there and going, all right, I hope this brings the enterprises, because it's a tough game if you get that wrong.
Yeah. So I want to go into another topic, which I hear often in talking with product leaders around go-to-market, is the problem with success metrics and measuring, just getting the data. So picking the metrics and actually doing the measurements. Can you look into your experiences? And I'm going to start with Elena on how do you work with the team to set the right success metrics, and how do you create the measurement, muscle at the organization?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of having a North Star metric that everyone is rallying towards, and is then breaking that down into, okay, what are the different activities that we can do that is going to hit that is going to move the needle towards that North Star metric. And also, one thing that sometimes we forget is like, okay, we are going to grow this, but where are we now? So going from A to B, that is the goal. Okay, fantastic. We are starting with A. This is a starting number. So we need to be able to make sure that we can capture that number. And then we have a very clear tree into, okay, what are the different activities that we are going to do to hit that outcome, and then measure each of them. If each of these different metrics, we hit them, then it's going to ladder up to hit this North Star metric, but not having an understanding of where we are starting from. And sometimes it's like, we have never done this. We don't have any data. Then we are starting from zero, right? So from zero to the next thing. But what was and that is the powerful story that you can tell later. We were here, now we are there. Or, hey, we are not moving whatsoever, so we need to change something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your success metrics are going to change depending on what it is that you're actually building, right? So the context does matter, but the important thing is that it's all pointing to what is important for your business. So I love that framing around the North Star metric, but also making sure that things that you are measuring are leading metrics, right? The things that are likely to lead to the outcome, as opposed to stuff that's going to happen afterwards that are hard to track back to the change that you made. So in like SaaS terms, this is the world that I live in. Yes, North Star being the revenue, right? Downstream, we want to make sure that people are paying us for this. But you might be measuring things like, well, how many new people does this get to sign up? Do those people actually go through and convert to customers? Do those people actually get to the point of using that new thing that you've launched, that product or that feature? And how much did they do so? Was it that they just, press the button once, or did they come back and do it multiple times and they're therefore, converts on this new thing that you've built? So there's a few things that you can measure along the way to track people's reaction to what you've built, and therefore likelihood to actually result in most cases in companies, it's revenue as that bottom line or that North Star.
And that's the thing with the North Star. Also, it's important to pick the right one, because that shouldn't be a lagging indicator either. It should be a leading. So revenue as a North Star metric, tell me something else. So what does it mean? What happens in the business that materialize into that revenue? Is it that this type of customer is doing these activities X amount of time? When that happens, when that magic happens, then the revenue grows. Fantastic. Then that's an indicator. We need to grow more people doing that thing. So that to me, that's the framing for a North Star metric.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we actually, go on. I was going to say, we actually have revenue as part of our North Star metric, but there's a twist on it, because we don't just measure revenue, right? You can get bucks from lots of people who sign up and pay and then disappear. We measure how much MRR are we getting from companies who've been with us for 12 months or more. So the ones
Exactly.
who stuck around and used it, right? And if they're sticking around that long, we can see from the stats they tend to stick around a lot longer. But it's like that magic 12-month point. If I can get them that long, then let's get them the next few years. But as part of that North Star, the things that feed into that are, well, are we actually having people sign up, right? Because we need to make sure that we've got people for the next cohort. But very importantly, are those people successful? Are they using it? Do they love
Exactly.
Prodpad? And therefore, they're going to be happy to stick around for that 12 months or more.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's perfect. One thing that I would just offer is that, again, pick the right metrics. And the second thing is that the metrics that you use on day +1 of a 1.0 product might not be the metrics that you want to use for a 2.0 version of your product.
Yeah.
I worked at a startup 20 years ago, and we picked a metric that was tied to the number of downloads. It was very helpful the day after we launched to track how many people were downloading. But it wasn't at all useful as a company in the 2.0 version. So the metrics need to represent where you are in the marketplace. And as the product manager, you want to keep those metrics focused on value, not upon vanity.
Yeah. I like to think about the metrics as part of the process, right? Just like design is, just like QA is, just like, launching to market, just measuring what you're actually doing is part of your process. And as with any process, I like to think about processes as products, right? Something that you can learn from, you can iterate on and improve upon over time. And this is why things like retros and teams looking back on what they've done and going, okay, so we did this thing, we thought we were measuring this, we measured this is what we've learned, but actually we missed this measurement. So next time we do this, let's do this instead. And it allows your design, it allows your QA, it allows your go-to-market, allows your metrics to evolve based on how your team's working with them, what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah, I will add to that also. Don't create metrics that people can cheat on. And let me explain what I mean by this.
Incentives are always an interesting thing, aren't they?
How many customers
No,
did you talk
something
to about
is
this
so
opportunity?
Yeah.
But something that is so wide that is like, oh, okay, I don't have guardrails. For example, one metric that, or one objective that I'm always like, it's the monthly active users. Okay, our objective is to drive monthly active users. Very good. But we are wanting to, at some point, we want to monetize those guys. So, but I don't care about that. And that is one problem that I found at a company that I worked for recently. No. This is our goal. We have been tasked to grow monthly active users. I say, yeah, but next year they are going to tell us to monetize those guys. And we need to start preparing to attract the guys free, fantastic, very good, that we will be able to monetize tomorrow. So having that already in the, who are those monthly active users that we think are going to monetize, to the example that Jana was explaining, right? So defining not the revenue, but the revenue that is coming from these people. You will be cheating if you know. If not.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Hey, there's a really interesting question that I just want to bring to my other panelists. What do you guys think about product managers that make really big decks for new products?
They could be spending their time on new, better stuff.
Yes, they can.
I think product managers should be primarily spending their time communicating with people in their team about what's going on and why, and talking to customers. So figuring out what they should be building. Everything else can be automated or removed, frankly.
Yeah, less is more in many of these situations. And don't find yourself spending 20 hours making a 200-page deck. Spend 18 hours with customers, with salespeople, and an hour doing the one-page template.
Yeah.
On that point, I want to answer one question that I saw on the chat from Ken, who is asking, do you need a go-to-market plan for the 3.1 version of your product or just for big releases? So I wonder how many people tier their launches, because not all the launches are tier 1. They're tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, and each of them require different effort. So by understanding, okay, is this thing innovative and is going to help me attract new customers? That to me is a tier 1. is this thing keeping up with the market? And yeah, has the possibility to attract more customers, but it's nothing specifically innovative. Sorry, that's a tier 2. Now, is this going to help me retain my customers? And it's highly innovative, but externals probably will not get that. That's a 3. And then at the bottom is this business as usual? This is, yeah, going to help us retain, but no innovation whatsoever. So the effort on each of these buckets is fundamentally different. If you're treating a tier 4 as a tier 1 and doing all that effort and preparing a lot of documentation, it's going to be exhaustive. So it goes with what Ken was saying. You don't need to spend all that time reinventing the wheel every time and making that super huge if you define that.
Yeah.
There are no checklists either. So each of the 2 different tier 1s can have different checklists and different go-to-market motions and strategies. Yes, so don't fall into the trap of that a checklist only, but definitely way less effort for a tier 4.
Yeah, I love that tiering system. It sort of jives with what I've been doing for years, which, I mean, I used to have it on my wall behind me as a product manager, which was mapping out everything that we were going to be doing based on impact and effort. We've codified that into ProdPad now. So you've got this space where you can say, well, here's our quick wins, or here's the things that are, going to be big projects, but worth it. Or of course, the time sinks to avoid. And it gives you that way to, understand, is this something that's going to rock the world? Or is this something that, is just going to sort of fall out as an expected feature?
Yeah, to answer my own question, I think the 3.1 is a tier 2 introduction that you need to handle and properly communicate about, because salespeople want to know that you continue to make your product better, that you're investing in your product, that it's not stable. Hey, Ken was here last August and we haven't seen him since. You want that tier 2. You want the, hey guys, we're doing a release. It contains this, this, and this. And we're doing it for this particular situation. Put it in context. Don't have it take over, but you do want to have a heartbeat message with your sales and marketing team that you are enhancing the product, you are making it better. Just keep it in, keep the size perspective correct.
And Elena mentioned it, I think, at the start of this discussion, is also just think about your releases in ways that, as Ken likes to say, make news. So plan your releases in a way that really achieve outcomes for your customers.
Marketable moments. That's my definition of that. Create marketable moments.
Sweet.
Well, a big thank you to our panelists, Elena, Jana, and Ken. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with our audience. I'm just going to share, for those of you who enjoyed this webinar, if you're interested in getting a few more materials to help you on your go-to-market journey, download our go-to-market pack, which is a selection of plays from the Productside playbook, specifically geared at helping you go to market effectively. We also have another special offer for all of our attendees. If you're looking to up your game, we have several of our upcoming live instructor-led courses that we are offering for $350 off with this coupon. Just use the code Productside350 at checkout. And again, follow us, come and join us for future webinars. Please feel free to also send us the topics that are most interesting to you. We are really here for you. You are our community, and we are your partners in product. A big thank you again to our guests. Thank you for sharing all of your knowledge and wisdom.
Thank you so much for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, likewise.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Be great product managers.